Welcome to our deep dive. We're going to be exploring how to read a room. I'm sure many of you are interested in feeling more confident, especially in those professional settings. And this book, it really lays out some fascinating strategies for handling just about any situation gracefully. We have an expert in group dynamics joining us to help us really uncover the best of what this book has to offer.
The beauty of this work is that it goes beyond those sort of surface level tricks and really digs into the underlying mindset and the processes that enable someone to truly understand and influence social dynamics. It's about developing a deeper awareness of both yourself and others.
Oh, I like that you brought up self-awareness because the book kind of kicks off by acknowledging something I think we all experience, which is that feeling of uncertainty. Like when you walk into a crowded party or you join a virtual meeting and you just feel like at a loss.
Right, that feeling is pretty universal. And reading a room, it gives you this framework to navigate those types of situations, so you can move with confidence rather than feeling lost. It's about going from reaction to proactivity.
This idea of proactivity really stuck with me. The author shares a story about working with teenagers to plan a family vacation. And instead of like dictating everything, he gave them a budget and a time frame and let them take ownership of the planning.
That's a great example of empowering others. A lot of times, our anxiety comes from focusing on things we can't control. And by shifting our focus to what we can control, our preparation, our attitude, our responses, that's how we reclaim a sense of agency. It's not about controlling those external factors. It's about mastering those internal responses.
The book then uses this really interesting scenario to talk about perception. A man walks into a crowded elevator, and he greets everyone with a very enthusiastic, "Good morning," but he receives no response back.
Oh, absolutely. And this seemingly, everyday occurrence is a powerful reminder that we each perceive the world through these unique filters, right? Shaped by our background, our culture, our experiences. So it really highlights the importance of understanding that our first impressions, well, they can be pretty misleading.
So this man in the elevator, he might have had the best intentions, but others, based on their own filters, could have interpreted his greeting as intrusive or maybe even weird.
Exactly. And this is where it gets really fascinating. The book encourages us to constantly question our assumptions. Rather than jumping to conclusions, we should approach each interaction with a sense of curiosity. We should be seeking to understand the other person's perspective before we, quickly label their behavior.
So how do we actually go about reading those filters? The author dives deep into nonverbal communication, body language, facial expressions, all of it. He even analyzes a couple in a coffee shop, observing little details that reveal their underlying emotions.
It's like this unspoken language. It's expressing their feelings and their reactions, their posture, their gestures, eye contact. The key insight is that nonverbals provide clues, not guarantees to someone's internal state. It's about understanding nuance and avoiding those rigid interpretations.
It's like detective work, gathering evidence to see the bigger picture. But like the book emphasizes, we shouldn't jump to conclusions because context is everything. A furrowed brow could mean someone is concentrating, not angry. And avoiding eye contact, well, that might just be shyness, not disinterest.
Right. Effectively reading a room involves considering all of these factors together. It's about discerning patterns and recognizing that individual cues can have multiple interpretations depending on the situation. It's this ability to synthesize those observations that really makes someone a skilled room reader. So this leads us to another really crucial element of reading a room. It's about, skillful networking and conversation. The author, he proposes this refreshingly genuine approach. Instead of launching into like a self-promotional speech, he suggests trying this. When you're at an event, try asking someone, if a close friend were applying for a job here, what advice would you give them?
I love that. It's such a clever tactic because it immediately shifts the attention away from like selfish motives and towards a genuine interest in the other person's perspective.
People, they're much more likely to share insights when they feel like you're, genuinely curious. And once you've kind of opened that door, you can delve deeper with what the author calls go deeper questions. Those questions that are designed to uncover shared interests and build rapport.
Can you give us some examples of those go deeper questions? I think our listeners would find them helpful.
Sure. So instead of asking those surface level questions, like what do, you could try something like, what's been the most rewarding rewarding part of your work here? Or what advice would you give your younger self about navigating this industry? Those kinds of questions, they spark these really engaging conversations and reveal shared values.
The author also emphasizes looking for these connections in unexpected spots. He shares stories about making those real connections with a barista, even a grocery store clerk, just by asking thoughtful questions. It's about seeing that human element in every interaction.
Right. Even those small, seemingly insignificant exchanges, they can have a big impact. They create this more positive environment for everyone. But let's shift gears a bit and talk about another vital part of social dynamics leadership.
And this is where the book really challenges conventional wisdom. It redefines leadership not as a position of authority, but as a force of influence. The ability to empower people and create positive change regardless of your title.
The author, he emphasizes serving the needs of the group instead of, dominating it. Effective leaders, they cultivate more leaders, not just followers. They inspire, they guide, they empower those around them to reach their full potential. It's about promoting collective growth, not, asserting control.
He draws this clear distinction between those ineffective leaders, the ones who are, controlling and self-centered, micromanaging, intolerant of mistakes, versus those who inspire and guide, who empower, embrace accountability, and communicate effectively. Those are the traits of truly impactful leadership.
And those distinctions, they become even more apparent when you think about the unique dynamics of virtual environments. The author, he uses this great phrase, death by Zoom, to capture that feeling of exhaustion we've all felt after spending hours, on video
It's
calls.
so relatable. He even tells a funny anecdote about a banker who always looks so sharp and professional in the office, but then he suddenly shows up on a video call wearing this old T-shirt and shorts. It's like the rules of engagement completely changed overnight.
The takeaway is that virtual spaces, they demand different strategies. The book, it offers some really practical tips for making a good impression in online meetings. Things like optimizing your lighting and your camera angle, using clear and concise language, actively participating in discussions.
The section on collaborative virtual work sessions was really interesting to me. Is this idea of creating a dedicated online space where people can, work together in a focused, distraction-free environment, almost like a virtual co-working space to boost productivity and teamwork.
It's a great way to combat that isolation and all the distractions that come with remote work. But the book, it doesn't stop at virtual environments. It also explores this often overlooked room, the room of written communication. Emails, texts, online messages, all of it.
The author, he makes this great analogy to walking into a meeting and immediately trying to sell something. It just doesn't work. He stresses the importance of building relationships through a personal tone, communicating clearly, and really focusing on the receiver's needs.
And what's so remarkable is how even small tweaks can elevate your digital writing. Going from dull and transactional to something that's impactful and builds connections, using a personal greeting, getting straight to the point, using an active voice, ending with a tailored call to action, these seemingly small adjustments, they make a huge difference.
It's almost like speaking their language, showing them that, you get their priorities. You're not just sending out these generic messages. And this brings us to, I think, maybe the most unexpected and, dare I say, inspiring theme in the book. It's the power of service. The author uses a really interesting example from, of all things, the Minions movie.
Ah, those lovable little yellow creatures whose whole purpose is to serve. The book draws this parallel between the minions and this idea of servant leadership, where the focus is on meeting the needs of others, not just your own.
And he addresses the skepticism some people might have about this approach, right? It's easy to think, well, if I'm always focused on serving others, what about my needs? What about my goals? But the author argues that true fulfillment, it comes from making a positive impact on the world around us.
He highlights some of the unexpected personal benefits of service. It's a deeper sense of purpose and fulfillment, stronger relationships, starting a ripple effect of kindness, and creating a lasting legacy. These benefits, they often extend far beyond just that initial act of service.
It reminds me of that great quote, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. But this isn't just, some feel-good philosophy. The book, it lays out 10 specific steps for cultivating a servant leadership mindset. Things like, practicing active listening, expressing gratitude, embracing humility. and developing genuine empathy.
And the real power of this framework is that it emphasizes character development, not just, outward actions. It's about becoming the kind of person who naturally inspires and empowers others through your behavior and your interactions. It's about making service a fundamental part of who you are.
And he acknowledges that this transformation doesn't happen overnight. He uses this analogy of learning to fly a plane. Even experienced pilots, they had those early clumsy attempts. But, they kept at it. They refined their skills, and they eventually achieved mastery.
It's a good reminder that growth is a journey, not a destination. Every time we enter a new room, whether it's a physical space, a virtual gathering, even an email exchange, we have this opportunity to practice those skills, to become more adept at reading the dynamics, understanding the people involved, and making a positive contribution.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into how to read a room, let's go back to our original question. Why should you, the listener, care about this skill? Is it just about, feeling more confident and comfortable in social situations? Well, sure, those are nice perks, but the book challenges us to think bigger, to consider the ripple effects of our actions.
If we zoom out a little, it's about recognizing that every interaction, no matter how small, has the potential to create positive change. A well-timed question, it can spark a meaningful conversation. A sincere compliment can brighten someone's day. A thoughtful act of service can inspire others to do the same.
As we enter our next room, whatever that may be, I want to leave you with one final thought-provoking idea. What if it's not about us getting ahead? What if it's about making the room better, even in a small way, because we were there? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into how to read a room.
It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas.
And until our next exploration, keep learning, keep connecting, and keep lighting up those rooms with your presence.
Until next time.
Before we go, I want to leave you with a quick recap of the 10 key takeaways from How to Read a Room. Number 1, reading a room goes beyond surface observations to understand those underlying social dynamics and individual perspectives. 2, adopt a proactive mindset. Focus on what you can control, your preparation, your attitude, your responses. That's how you navigate new situations confidently. 3, remember, everyone sees the world through those unique filters shaped by their background, their culture, their experiences. So avoid those snap judgments. Approach interactions with genuine curiosity. 4, pay attention to those nonverbal cues like body language and facial expressions, but keep in mind they offer clues, not guarantees, about someone's internal state. Always consider context and avoid jumping to conclusions. 5, master the art of networking by shifting your focus from self-promotion to genuine interest in the other person. Ask those insightful questions that uncover shared interests and values. 6, elevate your conversations by using those go-deeper questions, the ones that reveal deeper motivations, experiences, and aspirations. These questions, they spark engaging discussions, and they help build stronger connections. Number 7, redefine leadership. Think of it as a force of influence, not a position of authority. Focus on serving the needs of the group, empowering others, and creating more leaders, not just followers. 8, adjust your communication strategies for those virtual environments. Optimize your online presence, engage actively in discussions, and foster collaboration to lead effectively in the digital world. 9, transform your written communication by using a personal tone, getting straight to the point, and emphasizing the reader's needs. Make your emails and messages stand out by showing that you understand their priorities. And finally, number 10, embrace the power of service. Shift your focus from self-advancement to making a positive difference in the lives of others. You'll find that real fulfillment often comes from contributing to something bigger than yourself.